Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us for today's webinar, Leveraging AI and Chat GPT for Business Success. I'm Becky Wyan, part of Rea's marketing team, and I'll be moderating today's presentation. Before we begin, there are just a few housekeeping items I wanted to cover. If you have questions during the presentation, you may enter them into the question box, and we'll be stopping to take questions throughout the presentation, and we'll also answer as many questions as we can at the conclusion of the presentation. However, to be respectful of your time, we know we may not be able to get to all the questions. Therefore, following today's webinar, we will review all questions and send out the answers via email to everyone as soon as we can. Now let's get started. Today's presenters are Travis Strong and Josh Anderson. Travis is part of Rea's information service team and is a senior manager that ensures Rea and our clients are doing the right things from an IT and IT risk standpoint. Josh is our Chief Information Officer and also a certified ethical hacker, and he is responsible for the strategic planning and tactical operation of information technology across our firm. Welcome, Travis and Josh.
Thank you so much, Becky, and good afternoon, everyone. Really appreciate you spending your lunch hour with us, and certainly around a topic that was in no way a burden to present on. It's something we're very excited about. We see a lot of personal value, we see a lot of business value, and we see a lot of client value that we think we can bring by focusing our conversation on AI today, and hopefully give you a few tangible things that you can take with you down the road. On the next slide, we will end up, please feel free to engage with us as we work through this. We'll show that slide with links to contact us again at the end, but really want to give you the opportunity to just engage with us, ask questions today. We want to introduce you to Rea and what we do. We want to encourage you to reach out to this group and ask questions, and like I said, hopefully we'll give you, as we work through the agenda here on the next slide, we'll give you a few resources that you can utilize in your own lives, and as we move into how ChatGPT matures in the world, and how it matures in some of the applications we use and the systems that we use, we can find ways that it will be of value to you and your organization. Becky, if you'll take us on to the next slide, we'll hit the agenda here today, and in just a minute, we want to ask you as an audience first, really where do you feel your knowledge of AI sits today? Are you here to just gain some general understanding? Are you doing anything interesting with it that you might be able to share? And if you'll let us know, that will help us shape some of the content as we work through the presentation today. So we'll give everybody just a quick minute to weigh in here, and we appreciate your input and your answers.
Okay, we'll give everyone just 30 more seconds to answer.
Thank you, Becky, appreciate it.
All right, the votes are slowing down, so I'll go ahead and close it, and then we'll launch the results here. There you go.
Ah, that's fantastic. That's a great list, and again, thank you for the input, and thank you for sharing. We were expecting this, and with certainly technology that's new, and great to see that there's some folks seeing value already and have dipped a toe in the water. That's perfect, and great to get the input. Eager to hear some of the transformation and leadership perspectives that folks bring. And we'll ask you a polling question later that will hopefully bring some of that. And if not, please feel free to share that in the questions. Questions can be comments in the form of comments as well. So really what we want to focus on today is we all know that AI has been in the news. We've heard lots about ChatGPT. Travis is going to take us through some of the benefits, some of the challenges, some of the risks associated with implementing it. But really what we want to do is just share that AI is kind of everywhere. It's in some of the things we use, we utilize, but it's in the news. And so lots of success around what AI is bringing to us, but also lots of questions. One headline that caught my eye over the weekend was around the use of validation of cancer treatments. Harvard Medical School had released a finding that 13% of the information that ChatGPT was giving back to people was medically or technically, scientifically inaccurate. And that's a staggering number when you think about it, but also the fact that we're giving people a tool that they're trusting to do research with something as significant as that is also incredible. So it's in the headlines. Validation of what you're reading is certainly important. Talking about the application of how we're using that information is all on the agenda for today. And on the next slide, we'll kind of run through just what we aim to gain today, what we want to pass along, and then we'll incorporate the questions that you all ask. But today we'll cover really just what is AI, how are we using it, where are we seeing it, where are some areas where it's obvious, some areas where it may not be as obvious. What is ChatGPT? One particular tool that is utilizing AI, probably had a little more press than most, and we want to just talk about some areas where we've been using that as a firm, some of the professional services that it makes sense in, and others where it's not quite hit the maturity yet. And then finally, we want to send you home with just a few tools, some links, some favorite resources of ours, maybe some way of thinking about how to use those tools. And really, we're going to do that this hour. We appreciate your feedback and questions. We appreciate your attention. And I'll turn it over to Travis to kind of take us through a little bit of a deep dive into all these things.
Great, thanks, Josh. And yeah, good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for your time. We thought that this this comic, that's just out there. I think if you Google AI comics, you might find a bunch of fun stuff out there. But this is one of those ones that we Googled, and it kind of hit home, I think, to me. It's like, I think this might resonate with a few of us out there on the call, but I don't need AI in my work. Anything AI can do, I can do with less errors. And then, lo and behold, AI tells you it's actually fewer errors, and just some grammatical mistakes that it might help you out with. But we thought that was a good comic just to kind of level set on here's I mean, some of its benefits and how we might be using it today on just a small scale, right? Maybe like me, some of you don't realize how AI plays a role in just our day-to-day lives. I was going to spend a few minutes on that here as we move through the content. But I wanted to start with really this definition, right? What is AI? I think you hear about it a lot, as Josh just mentioned. It's in the news. People throw out artificial intelligence, those terms, quite often. We might scratch our heads sometimes in understanding truly what it is, but this is sort of Webster's version of the definition. But it's the development of a computer system that can perform tasks that typically require human intelligence, such as understanding natural language, recognizing images, making decisions, and learning from experience. Behind the scenes, what you don't see, though, is that these systems, they're using all kinds of statistical models, algorithms, whatever, to really look at a huge amount of data, just troves and troves of data, to basically identify patterns and make predictions or decisions based on that analysis. And it actually happens really quickly with all these tools. But that's essentially, what artificial intelligence is. It's trying to emulate the human and use a lot of the information that it has at its fingertips to help with decision making, analyzing all kinds of things. Becky, we can move on to the next slide. So one of the things that I really wanted to spend a moment on was just kind of going through a variety of different ways that AI is being used just in everyday life. I mean, you may not know it, but what you may do today involves AI to some extent. Maybe you directly don't use some of these types of tools or mechanisms that are on the screen here, but a lot of your partners and companies you work with probably do. Maybe some of the systems and applications you use on this screen, right, to run your business, or some of these other AI solutions that are out there you use to actually help run your business, or just make life easier for you. You know, some examples that are shown on the screen are virtual assistants like Siri or Alexa. And these types of tools, they use AI technologies to understand and respond to voice commands, provide information, control smart home devices. I don't know how long we've had, well, I've had an iPhone for a long time and use Siri quite often. We've had Alexas and things like that in the house, these gadgets that are using AI behind the scenes to help us out. And you know, companies like Netflix, Amazon, Spotify, Pandora, whatever it is, they use AI algorithms to analyze user preferences and behavior to provide personalized recommendations for movies, products, music, whatever it is. Like when I log on to Netflix, I think there's a couple categories on Netflix that they're right in front of my face, right? When you get into Netflix, one of them is top picks. Like based on your usage and what you've watched over history, Netflix is recommending the top picks for you. And then I think another category they call is like because you liked this movie, well, here's a recommendation of another movie that we think you might like. So these companies are using it to really catch your attention and provide those personalized recommendations. Natural language processors, things like ChatGPT, which I'll talk about here in a minute, a little bit more. But natural language processors, they enable machines to understand and interpret human language. I mean, chatbots and virtual customer service agents, those types of things are using natural language processing to help with, you know, your queries that you put out there, provide customer support and those types of things. You'll see a self-driving car on here, autonomous drones. Those technologies also use AI, you know, such as computer vision, sensor fusion, and machine learning, and other things to help navigate safely and make decisions. You know, AI algorithms are also employed by financial institutions. I know I use mobile banking, right? And it's when I scan a check that I want to electronically deposit, it's scanning that using just algorithms and technologies built within it to help make sure that that check goes to the right account at the end of the day and the funds get pulled from the right account. So, and it's analyzing for fraud and other types of pattern activities. That have I tried to deposit that check somewhere else? Have I done this, that, or the other to the check? So there's a ton of just artificial intelligence built into that solution in and of itself. It's used a lot in the medical field too, just with imaging and looking at X-rays and CT scans and MRIs. I mean, what can help with diagnosing diseases today. I'm sure that it's being used quite a lot in the medical field just to help doctors and those in the medical profession out with their jobs. Gaming, I'm sure maybe some of the participants here on the phone or on the webinar are big time gamers, but a big presence of artificial intelligence just in gaming and game development, creating intelligent, you know, non-player characters that, you know, that are human-like, and I mean, adapting to difficult levels. When I play video games, I'm usually at the very basic entry level, so they keep the game very easy for me, just so that I can, you know, enjoy it and it catches my attention. But you know, and things like Google Translate, Grammarly, they're using artificial intelligence for their translation services and to help translate text and speech from one language to the other. You'll see Baymax on the screen here. I'll call him a robot. He's maybe one of my favorite robots. I've got 4 children, and they, well, one of them still loves Big Hero 6, but I love Baymax too. And he, you know, he's got AI capabilities built within him just to help. You know, I think his quote is, "I am Baymax, and you know, I'm here for you and here to make sure that you get the care that you need." So robots can help adapt to situations and learn from their environment and interact with humans. But AI is all around us. That's the point of this slide, right? And these are just a few examples that I thought might resonate with all of us just around here. Here is how AI is kind of at our fingertips today. And what I want to do is, though, like I mentioned a little bit ago, just spend a little bit more time on this thing called ChatGPT. And you know, so what I did, just, you know, for this audience here, I asked ChatGPT, like, who are you? What are you? And here's what ChatGPT says about itself. So what is ChatGPT? It's a large language model developed by OpenAI. It's based on GPT-3 architecture designed to be capable of generating human-like text in response to prompts or questions from users. It's been trained on a massive data set of text from the internet, yada, yada, yada. So that's, I guess, somewhat helpful, but hey, ChatGPT, kind of explain that to me as if I was a 2-year-old, please. I like the response. I'm like a really smart robot that can talk to you and answer your questions. I know a lot of things because I've read a lot of books and websites. I can help you with your homework, tell you stories, or even just chat with you. It's like having a friend who knows everything. That's kind of scary, but I'll leave it at that. So that's kind of how ChatGPT describes itself, and I thought that might be relevant to you all. But so just going into this slide here, the so what about ChatGPT, and Becky, you can actually click through and just build that slide out. Right there you go. I'm not going to read all the words on this slide, but it's a natural language processor. And natural language processing, it's the ability of a computer to understand the human language as it's either spoken or written, quote unquote, natural language. And it's a component of artificial intelligence. So at its very basic level, I mean, basically you can ask a computer to write something, look up something, describe something, analyze something, and the computer is going to take the information that you provide and quickly yield results that speak to whatever you fed it. Josh is actually going to talk about that in a little bit more, a little bit down the road here, just around some of the prompting around some of these tools and the results that you might get. But I mentioned this a little bit ago, there's a ton of stuff that happens behind the scenes just from a technicality standpoint that's involved in this process. We're not going to spend a lot of time on that here. We're not going to go into the weeds like around the behind the scenes about how some of this stuff works. But that's essentially what natural processing is you're feeding it information and it's going through, its database of information that it has and providing you a response back in some way, shape, or form. That's what ChatGPT and like tools are doing. But it's an artificial intelligence chatbot, and it uses that natural language processing to create, really human-like conversational dialogue. It responds to inquiries and has the ability to, help compose written content. You could use it to create social media posts or blog posts. I know folks are using it for just coding, right? IT developers are using it to help with their coding, skill development, throw code out there, have it interrogate that code, review that code to find mistakes in it or something like that. You can use it to help craft emails. You can use it to help, start engagement letters or give you kind of the thought starter around a statement of work. There's so many different use cases for ChatGPT, but that's essentially what the help and the benefit is there. It's really helping you to kind of start or to analyze information, to give you the information that you're probing it. Maybe you're scratching your head on a certain topic and it's a topic that's been bugging you. You're just trying to figure out, well, how do I say something the right way, or I need more information on something. Well, you can prompt it and ask it for some of that information, and it'll spit the information back out to you. So kind of exhausted this slide here on just many of there's at the bottom of it, it just says, there's many benefits and positive capabilities. It can assist with sifting through that wide range of information that it has available to it. Various topics, it can sift through all that stuff in seconds and just help with that content creation, understanding topics, and producing insights or analytics on various things. I think that this slide basically outlines some statistics on like why is ChatGPT, like, help me understand why it's so popular. Like what's going on in the world around this thing. And as I was trying to understand that for myself, I landed on, and I think this might have been posted by somebody on LinkedIn, I can't remember who, but the source of it is through Demand Sage. You can see the URL at the top of the slide here. And I actually, I mean, if you want to jot it down right now, I think they kind of keep it up semi-real time. In fact, some of the statistics that are shown on this slide here are outdated. I had this slide and used this slide a few months back with a previous talk that I did. But I mean, ChatGPT, it does currently have over 100 million users. And it took ChatGPT 5 days to cross 1 million users. That's interesting because if you compare that to things like Instagram, which took 2 months, Facebook took 10 months, Twitter took 3.5 years to cross 100 million users. That gives you some perspective on, you know, how popular this tool is and its usage. US, and I didn't check Demand Sage, but at the time, a couple months ago, the US had the highest number of ChatGPT users. I imagine that's still the case. One very interesting data point that that is now updated on Demand Sage is that fourth item where it says surpassed 1 billion page visits in February 2023. Surprisingly, on Demand Sage's website now, it's saying that it surpassed 9 billion page visits in August, this month, August of 2023. So it was 1 billion back in February, and it's now 9 billion page visits over its course of time. Another thing that I thought was interesting, and this is a new data point that Demand Sage has put out there, but it took ChatGPT 2 months to get to that 100 million users, which is 7 months quicker than the second place social platform, TikTok. So it was 7 months quicker to get to 100 million users over TikTok. And then it was 16 months quicker than the third place YouTube, which just kind of blows my mind, quite honestly. I thought that was an interesting statistic. But currently, the site has over 1.8 billion all-time views. That's pretty significant. An interesting data point, though, is I think there's 160 plus nations that can leverage ChatGPT. But interestingly, that last item on this slide is that there's 7 nations in the world that just completely block it. And it's mainly out of privacy and censorship related situations that they've just completely blocked its availability in their region. So just a data point that I thought I'd share with you as well. But yeah, check out that website if you want to learn a little bit more about the pervasiveness, I guess is the right way, of ChatGPT and how it's gained such a foothold out there. Go on to the next slide, Becky. And actually, I kind of stole this too, and I'll talk about this woman here in a minute as well, but was listening to a TED Talk, and I thought this was really interesting that this quote, right? We've all heard this before, that common sense is not so common, and this Voltaire quote, but you know, this quote by Voltaire, I think, is important for many reasons today, and one of those is really in the space of artificial intelligence. And I'll explain a little bit why, but I mean, I like to say that, you know, when using tools like ChatGPT or relying on, you know, artificial intelligence type tools, it's important for us to all remember that, like, here's what I want you to walk away with is thinking is required. Right? We all have to use our own intellect, our human capacity to think about the results and the information that are coming from, whether it's ChatGPT or some other, you know, artificial intelligence type tool or technology, that some thinking is required. So don't lose sight of that, please. That's probably the one thing that I'll leave you with, is just that thinking is required. And you know, this quote will resonate with you all here in a second as I go through a couple of examples. But I mean, although our artificial intelligence tools, I mean, they can really help us solve complex problems and bring efficiencies, and I'll just say it right, you can, you know, better the world or whatever you want to say. We have to remember that at the end of the day, these are computers. They're not humans, and there's some key reasons that I mentioned this, and we're going to go into that here on the next slide. What this slide is showing is just some risk and guardrails with using a tool like ChatGPT. And just some things that we need to be considerate of as we're using these types of tools. One of the, prime things here at the top of the list is just the ability, it just lacks, the ethical judgment. And you can read the words here on the screen, but I want to walk through these a little bit. But, it's not a human. It doesn't have feelings, or it doesn't have certain contexts that you may have. Neither does it have a sense of, ethics or moral values. It's trained to, and I think on ChatGPT's, the website, these things, hopefully most of them are trained to decline inappropriate requests. Unfortunately, though, some things slip through, and it may occasionally produce, harmful instructions. It's generating responses based on patterns and examples that it has in its training data. And, a lot of times it's doing that without evaluating sort of the ethical implications of all that. So, like I just mentioned, it's really important to exercise your own judgment and critical thinking when you're receiving the information and you're thinking about acting on it. Dependence on the tool. This is a big one, right? We can't rely too heavily on something like this for decision making, or, heavily relying on it for that decision making, or just for important tasks. It can be really risky to do that. Absolutely, it can provide insights and assistance, and it's just important though to remember that it is an AI model and it's got some limitations. So our oversight and our validation is really important. Malicious use, it's being used today for nefarious activities. Josh, jump in here, but a couple examples of this are just copying somebody's voice and utilizing that for malicious or nefarious reasons, right? Maybe it can. There's these tools out there that are capturing like how I sound and the way I talk, and then potentially using it for engaging in their unethical or nefarious ways. But that's just one example. I know that scammers and bad actors are also using it for just to make their phishing content more reliable and trustworthy. They're making it look prettier. The way natural language processing works is, if somebody doesn't speak well, if a bad guy doesn't speak English well, for example, well, they can use these tools to make it really look good from a scam and a phishing standpoint. So just making sure that we're being vigilant as it relates to how these tools could be used for nefarious activities. Bias and inaccurate or misleading information. These two are big too, because it's giving you results based off of what's in its database, and some of that information that's out there could be biased, could be discriminatory, and it's quite honestly could be inaccurate, and that's where you get the garbage in and garbage out comment at the bottom, right? If it's fed a bunch of garbage, it's going to spit out a bunch of garbage. So it's important that we verify and validate the information. Next slide. This comment, or this comic is interesting, just as we think about, maybe you've been in this boat before. I know I have, right? Where you're tired of, usually I'm tapping 0 or saying customer service or operator or something like that. What's really interesting about this comic is it actually speaks to several things. Number one is you're talking to a computer, and number two, what you prompt that computer with, or the way that you do it, or how you say it, it's going to yield some kind of result, whether you like it or not. So if you say operator instead of operator, expect to get some kind of sorry, please try that again message or something like that. But the computers can make mistakes too. It's not all on the human, and they may not be adequately trained as well, the computer itself. But one of the very interesting points is at the bottom of this slide where the red arrow is this is from 2009. So a lot of the stuff that we're using today has been around for years when it comes to artificial intelligence, and we've been using AI at least since then, right? Since 2009, but even long before that. So going into the next slide here, I wanted to these couple of examples they should resonate with you all around just how we have to be cautious, I guess, about how we're using the information that's produced from these tools. Here's an example, and this is that TED Talk that I was mentioning earlier. I think you say her name. I'm probably going to butcher it, forgive me, but Yejin Choi. I'll go with that. But she's got a TED Talk out there called "Why AI is Incredibly Smart and Shockingly Stupid." I thought that was a clever name for a TED Talk, but here's an example of it, right? I left 5 clothes out to dry in the sun. This is real. I think you could probably put this in ChatGPT now and it'll give you the same result. So I left 5 clothes to dry out in the sun. It took them 5 hours to dry completely. How long would it take to dry 30 clothes? Well, ChatGPT thinks it's going to take 30 hours. And I guess if we think about, I mean, I don't know, humidity might affect it. I don't think it does. I think it would treat all the clothing items equally and fairly, but it's just like a scratch your head moment, right? It's like, I don't think you're quite right there, right? So if we go to the next example, here's another one. I have a 12-liter jug and a 6-liter jug. I want to measure 6 liters. How do I do it? ChatGPT says, here's some really long instructions on how you might want to think about measuring 6 liters. If it was me, I'd probably just use the 6-liter jug to measure 6 liters, but ChatGPT goes through this long, elaborate process of how you could use the 12-liter jug to, at the end of the day, get down to the 6 liters. I don't know about anybody on the call or on the webinar here today, but I wouldn't go down that path. I'd probably just use the 6-liter jug. Josh, maybe you would use the 12, I don't know, but another example is on the next slide. So would I get a flat tire by bicycling over a bridge that is suspended over nails, screws, and broken glass? Maybe you would, maybe you wouldn't. But I guess if the bridge was suspended over those things, I could probably have some level of confidence that I'm not going to get a flat tire if the bridge was suspended over those things. But ChatGPT says there's a risk here, right? You got to make sure you avoid the sharp objects because they could puncture your tires or lead to other hazards. But at the end of the day, these are just a few examples of how it's back to that some thinking is required, right? When you get results back from a natural language processor or a tool like this, internalize it. Is it actually what I wanted it to give me? Is it answering the question that I had? Just think about that, right? You can't just lift and shift this information and produce it for what you need to do. I do I mean, check out that TED Talk. I thought it was really interesting, and she's got some. I think she's a computer scientist, but she's got some, just a cool TED Talk. So I think it's like 30 or 40 minutes long. And then other considerations, and I'll breeze through this here. These are actually bullet points that Josh and we actually communicated out to Rea Associates, the firm, and all of our employees on some other things to be mindful of when it comes to using things like ChatGPT. These are a little bit specific to our business, but honestly, I mean, you could take this slide and apply it to your own business too, just around some other watch outs and considerations that you should internalize as you're using technology like this. Go ahead, Becky. And I'm going to hand it back over to Josh.
Thanks so much, Travis. And now we'll kind of shift into a little bit of we'll call more of the practical use, and we want to share. We've heard about the risks, we've heard about some of the considerations. I really want to share a little bit about how we're using it today, maybe some ideas, and to give you all some, some turns at give you all a turn at using it on your own, and figure out where, where the benefit might be, and some skills. But wanted to share this comic as well. It absolutely captures human nature, and frankly, AI is willing to do things at a pace that humans cannot and typically don't enjoy, but it certainly is able to be put to work for us. And so we thought this kind of captured that sentiment. What we wanted to do is just push another poll out to the group here, And just ask you, how are you leveraging AI? And if you want to share any more than what's in the question, feel free to type it in the chat. We love the comments and ideas there as well. But just if you could take a moment and just let us know, we asked kind of maturity curve and how well adopted it was early, but how are you using it today?
Give everyone a couple more seconds. Yeah, you guys can select more than one option on here. And then as Josh mentioned in that chat, any additional ways you might be using it. We actually asked ChatGPT to give us the top 4 ways for this poll, but we love to hear other ways you're using it. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and close it out. I'll share the results.
Becky, thank you so much. I appreciate that, and thank you to everyone that contributed. This is great to see, and that balance we certainly expected. Lots of areas where we're not using it or not maybe not knowing that we're using it as well. But no, this is great. Thank you all for the feedback. We asked our own teams within Rea Associates. We asked folks to just let us know. It's great to set a policy. It's great to set guidelines. It's necessary. But we really wanted to just reach out and ask folks how they were using it, how they were implementing it in their day-to-day life, and wanted to just kind of share some of the quotes because it was a great variety of input, just like the survey results. But from our help desk, we had someone share that they really lean on autocorrect and things like Grammarly to help make sure that the phrasing and the way that they're sending a message out is clear and concise, and it can save time, but also it's a second set of eyes, if you will. Granted, they're machine eyes, but it's another perspective on what you've written and to help with the context. Another is kind of in the context of just work and workflow. We, as an audit and accounting firm, professional services, see a lot of things in forms and formats. Being able to leverage the structure of that data and to pull data from there in a structured manner, number one is a huge efficiency, but 2, it puts us closer to the data, the ability to extract, the ability to look for anomalies across different data sets. And so one particular project that was leveraging it was around our pension team and software that our pension team uses. In no way does it replace a human, but it's leveraging the technology to go out and look up things that are very time consuming and frankly just aren't the most economical for a human to do when a computer can help. And so finding those tasks, looking at our process and measuring some of that efficiency has been a big focus of some of our business units and our business analyst team. Same thing, PDFs and the ability to screen scrape, push automation has been a very prevalent part of our projects. We've had a large effort to perform some process automation within the firm and leveraging AI to validate what we're gaining, reading, learning from those data sets has been a big focus. And then finally, and this is just such a simple one, swipe right to autocomplete. But one of our senior managers says, just as I use email, I look for those Outlook prompts and they're getting better. And as I use them, they even get better. And that is AI and machine learning in full effect, really. It's leveraging what you said before or how you answered a question previously to choose better words to make you more productive in responding to those messages. So great to great to have a use case, great to have it be valuable, but even better when it's gaining some momentum as you're giving an input and starting to learn how you're leveraging it. So that, Becky, if we move on to the next slide, we wanted to look at areas where, again, we're actively leveraging it. We know we're building, it's been part of the team, if you will, even. And so areas where we're working on policy development, the ability to show it parts of a policy and ask for clarity, the ability to just find out what parts of a policy should be included. Lots of times there's template or there's some type of governance or regulation that helps the policy, but other times there aren't. And a very quick way to lay out a policy is to leverage AI and things that it has learned are essential parts of other policies and potentially even mistakes of omission that have been made in other policies, you would receive the benefit of that by identifying those gaps as well. Any kind of decisioning that involves human oversight. Today, if we can get lots of data in front of it and output choosing between two fields, get a form completed and then hand it off to a human, something that might have taken a couple hours may take a few minutes. There still has to be a human at the end of it. But in terms of that assembly, in terms of that workflow, leveraging AI for tasks is very big in our industries right now. And finding software that can help with some of that automation seems to be disruptors at every turn. But I'll highlight, and I know Travis did already, that human oversight is just such a big piece. It doesn't replace the human, but our hope and how we're leveraging it is that it makes us more efficient to get to that final process, and potentially puts other types of validation in front of us that we may not have had before. Found ChatGPT specifically to be wonderful at learning a new topic or an area of focus, finding areas of consideration that didn't exist, validating just the wording of something that you may send as a professional email, a thank you, something, and certainly it wouldn't ever replace, utilizing counsel or legal perspective, but validating the wording to be sure that it's consistent has been very helpful for us. And then just hugely, as everyone knows, hugely valuable just in that research arm. If you can't, sometimes you talk to a room full of people where it's early in the morning or soon after lunch and the ideas are slow to come, clearing that brain fog and just helping to brainstorm a little faster, helping to prompt ideas. We've even been in a room where we've seen people challenge what ChatGPT said, and the first thing that they got excited about in the conversation was that they might have had a differing opinion. And it's kind of funny to think that you might have a different opinion than all the knowledge and the data sources that are aggregated there, but something that's been very real. One thing we'll talk about here in a minute, how to do this, but changing voice, changing the tone, or even just your perspective of how you're writing something or attacking the problem. I'll be very specific about this, but to tell ChatGPT what it is or how it should think or what role it should play, to tell it to give you a differing opinion or help you argue through just building your case around something, it's very, very valuable. And then finally, I'll highlight just a kind of a joke that has come about as we've, as a firm, created policy, created awareness. People used to say, just go Google it. And Travis pointed out that several people were saying, I'm just going to go ChatGPT it. And when the company becomes the verb, that's a sure sign of adoption and perspective. But what we wanted to highlight there is it's a very different tool than a search engine. It's something to engage. A search engine is typically a search bar, an input, you get results, and you go down a different path. With ChatGPT, it becomes a little bit more of a cyclical process, and there's multiple ways to ask the question again, and we'll show you some ways to do that here in a second. But it's very iterative, and it helps start a conversation and really helps you develop that idea. On the next slide, want to just talk in general. This is not specific to us, but some areas where this may be relevant to you. And again, it's AI and machine learning at large. But we've talked about improved decision making. We see the value there. Automation efficiency, and just cost reduction. Every part of things we've been talking about could drive performance in this area and really be a differentiator. So again, automation, cost reduction, huge opportunities there to ensure that it's working for us and it's working with us. Customer experience. Just as you're a customer of that autocomplete in an email, it's getting better. We are actively seeing products leveraging how you interact with a commercial product, how you interact with software. They want to drive a better experience. So whether that's by asking you, by looking at your behavior within the software, looking at your behavior on a website, how you use it, how you come back with feedback, and ultimately just what your experience is being measured and can be improved if it's being measured. Predictive analytics to the same respect as the experience. Innovation and new opportunities. Certainly humans are going to be creative, but AI can draw some lines between different things that we may not think to do. And so while we always, just like owning the decision falls back to the human, innovation and identifying new opportunities is very much a human driven task, but leveraging AI to help make some of those connections has been hugely helpful to us. And then finally, competitive edge. Are you doing something faster? Are you doing something better or with more accuracy than your competitor? We certainly see this as an area where in our industry, very relevant, and something that we're going to continue to see grow exponentially here as it develops. Now on the next slide, really want to share, and there is a QR code to take you straight to this source. And again, this is just a public source that I found very valuable. And I will do a little bit of a deep dive into these cheat sheets. But if you follow that link, it actually takes you to, I think it's at last count about 85 cheat sheets that AIFire.co. And you can browse directly to that site or use the QR code or find these from some other sources. But one thing I really like about this cheat sheet, and we'll look at it at large here first, and then I want to dive into that create formula at the bottom. But thinking up in the left-hand corner, there's some really creative roles here, and this is just a list of a million, maybe a billion different roles. But act as a Linux terminal. What a crazy concept! But telling ChatGPT to be something inanimate, telling it to be your interviewer or your interview candidate and ask it some questions. Try your questions out. As a console, as an Excel sheet, as a plagiarism checker, to talk about moving from the light side to the dark side of the value. Change my content so it doesn't sound familiar. That's pretty powerful and something that's very real in our education system today, and pretty much affecting kids through adults. Is just where did the data come from, and is it original? It's really shaping the education system, and in both a positive and a negative way as far as the plagiarism side of things go. Advertising, how to reach people, how to put something in a way that is stated differently. One example I'd heard was a softball team was trying to come up with a creative name, and they just said, let's trust it to ChatGPT, and came up with a really funny name as a result. On the next slide, we'll talk a little bit about the create formula I saw at the bottom. So we're just going to drill down. My first few weeks, maybe even months of using ChatGPT, I did number 2 really well. I think I got better at asking questions, got better at writing prompts. But what I really liked about what AIFire offers here is this whole process of start thinking about the character. Who do you want it to be? What is ChatGPT's role? Now, what request do you want to make of it? What are you going to ask it to do? Feel free to give it some examples. Tell it what not to do. Tell it how to customize what you don't want it to do. Don't give me hard and fast technology guidelines. Give me soft people skills. Tell it that you like the output. Tell it that you don't like the output. One of the things that one of my early searches that I thought was absolutely fascinating is I asked it to tell me a joke about the accounting practice. And I replied and said, that's not very funny, tell me another. And I kept going and created some of these and really went into this create scenario and prompted it, and it started to get a better sense of what I was looking for, or maybe even scary enough, what I thought was funny. And it started to pick up on that context. So that's really what this slide is about, and the create formula is about for the prompt engineering, is give it context. And if you're not liking what you're seeing, give it more context and it will get there. Maybe not as fast as an intuitive human, but it sometimes may scare you how quickly it gets there. So wanted to offer this as a takeaway tool, the create formula. Spend lots of time in number 2 in the request, but also spend lots of time revising those by changing that voice in the character, by giving it examples and by giving it adjustments. And very similarly, on the next slide, wanted to show another source and just another area. This will take you to a gentleman by the name of Shane Fozard, who is not a company, just someone who likes to write on the topic. But I really like the flow chart here and wanted to share just a very simple flow. So role, task, format. And he, gives some great examples here of, be a CFO and tell me what some of your goals are, and give it to me in this format, or give it to me in something that the data can be formatted. The ability to look at some of the prompting down below, help me out with an outline, or help me write the bullet points for a talk I'm going to give. You certainly don't have to use those bullet points, but it is very powerful at giving you some ideas and giving you some things to search through. Same with the prompt priming, giving it a number. Give me 5 ways, give me 10, give me 100, or just give me the best one. Share an example going into today, and we probably should have given the disclaimer that AI may or may not have been used in the preparation of today's content, but we realized one of the survey questions that we had written had 6 options, and we were limited in the survey today to only 5 options. We used ChatGPT to ask it which were the best 5, and that is a great way to to leverage it, to give it number, to give it context, and to give it some expectation of your output. And then finally, Shane focuses here on business owners, but ask it questions. How do I grow my business? How do I grow revenue? How do I build a team? What's a good team building exercise? What's a good way to get this type of people to engage on a topic? All kinds of ways to just get you a little deeper into your immersion around the topic, and also just to get the most out of the tool and what is in there today. And with that, we really want to thank you. Becky, if you possibly could take us back to the slide with how to reach out to us and connect with us. We would love today to be the start of a conversation for you all. If you have questions, we'll certainly have content that we'll be pushing out in terms of the slides and the links today. Any of the questions that have come in, and we'll take a minute to check for questions here. Any ideas that anyone would like to share with the group, we welcome those as well. But mostly we just want to thank you for your engagement, and want to thank you for being interested in a topic that we see so much upside with. Lots of risk, lots of upside, and we know it's going to be part of our future. So very glad for your time in talking about it today. And Travis, I'll let you close us out as well.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Josh. I echo all of Josh's sentiments there. Please reach out if you want to chat with us about anything. I'm happy to talk about IT risk, cybersecurity with any of you. So don't hesitate. My email address is there, as well as the QR code to LinkedIn if you want to connect through that means. Becky, I'm not sure. Do we have any questions queued up?
We do. We have a couple.
Okay.
A couple people have asked about the slides presentation. Yes, we will be sending everyone a copy of the slides along with the recording, so you will receive that. I'll go ahead and hit some of the questions. All right, you have a little bit talked about this already, but are either of you using AI? And if so, are you using ChatGPT or another one? And what are the best applications you use it for? So I know you kind of hit a little bit at the end, Josh. So if you each want to just kind of hit high note, like what your favorite thing to use or one you use most often, and then that'd be great.
Absolutely. So one area where if I don't know something about a topic, I think for me that's been an evolution. Go ask ChatGPT to help me quickly, some quick immersion learning on a topic, help me outline it. Policy development, anyone that comes from the security or risk side, it's a great way to generate risk questions. What things should I be concerned about in an area? Really like it for things like policy development and validating anything that I've written, just to get its perspective on clarity and context of the writing. Travis, go ahead.
Yeah, well, I'll do 2 different examples. So one is business related and one is personal related. So on the business side, I'm not ChatGPT specifically, but my role, a lot of my background is IT risk and cybersecurity, and we are using, and a number of companies, it's just kind of inherent in a lot of these security platforms and technologies that are out there to get smarter about cyber risk. And a lot of these technologies these days are leveraging anomaly detection and user behavior analysis which are components of artificial intelligence to help with better detection and response to just cyber activity that's out there. So that's an example that I haven't really spoke about, but it's near and dear to my heart, is just leveraging, more modern security technologies to better protect our businesses and our lives. I think that's a key thing there. But, on the personal side, I will use ChatGPT as the example, among other business examples. But personally, like, I don't know, I think it was last week, I had had a conversation with ChatGPT around giving me an itinerary for a 2-week camping excursion with my family of 6 to Yellowstone. And I got a pretty decent itinerary back from ChatGPT. It accommodated the travel time, it accommodated how long it was going to take to get between, and it wasn't just to Yellowstone. I mean, it was the hops in between here and there too. It was saying, hey, don't forget to stop at the Badlands, right? Don't forget to, on your way south, right, coming back home, stop at Rocky Mountain National Park and those types of things. So I use it for a variety of different things. That's just one example, but like, I like to woodwork and things like that. So I'm asking it occasionally, like, how do I do this, that, or the other, or what type of tool was used to do this, right? So those are just a couple examples, but I think we've kind of elaborated on some of the other business examples that we use, whether it's policy development or just like a thought starter. Like, I don't know how to start something here. Like, can you help me? But again, you putting your human element on that is definitely what you want to do as well, making sure it's giving you the right thought starter.
Those are a good example. Thank you, guys.
Yep.
All right. Are there privacy or security concerns? For example, is history stored in a profile built around each user? What if someone uses ChatGPT to ask, what question should I ask my doctor immediately following a cancer diagnosis? Is it added to the user's profile? Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Becky. I thought you were
That's the last note. Is it being data mined?
Yeah, that's sort of a little bit of the mystery right now, and the tricky part with these tools. I think I had on one of my slides, and I didn't dive into it. It was the other considerations about being mindful about what you put in these tools. And the reason is back to the kind of the inherent, reason for asking that question. It's a little bit of a newer, like ChatGPT, a little bit of a newer space, right? So there's still some unanswered questions around how data is secured and how it ties to users and how that could potentially be leveraged in its database for other people, right? Like, that's where it's sort of like being careful about what you're feeding it and how it might leverage it on the other end. Maybe I'm a little more conservative in that I don't put any private information or any confidential information out into the tool. But what you can do is generalize that stuff a little bit, make it not so directly personal. And there's creative ways. It kind of goes back to how Josh described the prompting aspect of it, right? Like, you just being creative about how you ask it, what you ask it. I know that it won't work in every scenario, right? You might want a very direct response on a very direct question, but that's where I would tread lightly and, think about what you're feeding it.
And Becky, you had asked in the prior question about other tools, and I'll just say that's one area where the terms and conditions of the tools are very, very critical. How mission critical is this? Is it, a family vacation, or is it, a trade secret, or personally identifiable information? We started off by saying, what is the risk? Let's read some of the terms and conditions. Found in many ways ChatGPT to be very straightforward with their policy, very mature in the policy that they had offered. There are certainly others, and but looking at the value of what you're providing, just the governance process within your own organizations. Do we have a policy that prevents sharing this type of information? Do we have a data classification policy that prevents it? All those things are relevant, but definitely, as Travis said, think about what it is, what the context is. And then what I'll also offer is, with some, in addition, they require an email address to sign up. Maybe not using a corporate email address in some cases, if it is in line with their terms and conditions, would be a way to approach that, or the old, you know, I'm asking for a friend, as Travis said, the context. So all those have been a part of our policy development and our own coaching of internal use. And in many ways, they have shaped some of the decision or the direction toward ChatGPT, but there are lots of others.
Perfect. We're right up on the hour. I'll ask one more question that was kind of common as I was scrolling through, and then all the rest of the questions we'll make sure to provide everyone in the email to follow up. But a common question was, is it free, like ChatGPT? Is it something you download? Is it an app? So if you guys just don't mind kind of wrapping up with that, how to access it, and then
Yes and yes. I mean, you can access it through just you know, your Google or Chrome browser, or Edge, whatever. You could access it. There's also a mobile app for it, and there is a free version. There is also a paid version as well. So there's kind of depends on what your use case is.
Perfect. Thank you. I want to thank you both, Travis and Josh, for sharing this information. And I want to thank everyone that attended. This has been recorded, and we will get the follow-up questions answered, as well as the presentation and recording to everyone very soon. Thank you, guys, and I hope everyone has a great rest of your day.
Thank you all.
Thank you, everyone.